One of my favorite scriptures is give honor where honor is due. And we have an incredible guest today that's going to speak to your heart, not just your head. She specifically speaks to women, but she speaks to leaders from all over the world, and she's going to encourage you to stop playing small. It's just like what I've learned in the past. If you have a best friend that says something, a lot of times you hear it. So this is our best friend telling you, not our voices. Please watch the rest of this show all the way to the end, and you're going to have a magnificent life experience.
Welcome back to Aspire Higher with Charles and Yvana Bailey. We're so excited about our guest today. Listen, not only is she a thought leader, this woman has her own university. Her name is Allison Walsh. She has everything when it comes to the empowerment, the evolution, and the inspiration when it comes to women and how to drive business forward. So we're going to talk today. Don't miss this episode. Make sure you like, subscribe, and of course, share. Okay? Let's get into it. Allison, welcome.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be here.
I'm excited too. Thank you for joining us.
Oh,
She's going to bless our audience in ways,
Of
Charles.
course.
Oh my gosh.
You know, it's funny. I've been looking at some of your stuff. You are everywhere, literally
she is.
Speaking all around the world. She's an international speaker.
Yes,
she has an incredible book.
Yes.
She believes she could.
Mhm.
Man, I can't wait for you to drop some of these nuggets today. But you and I were talking earlier, and then Yvana came around and we were talking about some things that are on your heart. I think it'd be good if we jump right there. Is that cool?
Let's go.
So-
We're going to get into the
Yeah,
good stuff
we don't
right
wanna
away.
waste any time.
Immediately.
We got some
That's what
people
the
waiting.
podcast
They
is.
want something from this. So
Yeah.
you were saying that you believe right now in this time, people are playing too small.
Mhm.
Now, we hear that often, and this is why I wanted to jump in right now, is because there are a lot of cliches in our world that people hear, but they don't really resonate.
Mhm.
What do you think is going on with the playing too small? What are you seeing?
Mhm. I think people are succumbing to self-doubt every single day. And, I think we have these grandiose ideas, these big dreams, right?
Yeah.
These things that we know we want to do. And I think
Yes.
deep down, there's some level of belief that we can do it. But what I'm noticing a lot is that we're really listening too much to that inner voice, or maybe perhaps other people's perceptions, or little things that they're dropping in our ears that we really shouldn't be listening to. And I think the more that you hear that and the more that you co-sign on that, the
All
more
right now.
the more
Yeah,
likely
co-sign, right.
the more likely you are to start to believe that, right? And you just dim your light. You don't put yourself out there as much. And listen, I get it, right? Every single day you have to be super intentional about saying, I want to do this next big thing. I want to take this next step. I want to advance in my career, my professional life, my personal life, my faith, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of reasons not to.
Mm.
And the more that you say no to yourself, the more you make that the what's repeating on your tape, right? And so we have to stop that. And so what I'm noticing is that by taking daily incremental actions, making things smaller commitments so they don't seem so big, but keeping those commitments with yourself, you're able to build your confidence. You're able to strengthen that muscle that's going out there every day saying, I can do this. And by tracking it and really looking at that and giving yourself credit for it, you're able to start to play bigger because you're building momentum. And that's what is
One of our
really,
favorite words.
I love that word, right? Because consistency compounds, right? And the more you do it, the more momentum you do build up, and it makes it harder to stop. Right. And I think that's why I like momentum. It's not only about the forward motion, it's also about you have to work a little bit harder to stop it. And so that's where I want to really see people as they think about what's next for them, make the small commitments to play big so you don't play small.
Wow.
Amazing. Yeah, of course. Make the small commitments.
Make the small
Sure.
commitments. I love that. And in a sense, does that help you overcome burnout?
Oh, big time.
Can we lead that way?
There's so much that making those daily commitments to yourself can help with, whether it's overcoming hardship, whether it's helping to heal yourself, right? I went through a season of burnout that was terrible. So it was, pandemic, right? Leading a team through the pandemic. I worked in the addiction treatment industry for many, many years in the mental health space. And, when COVID happened, I was leading this team. We had to make significant cuts. We had to do all of these things just to keep the lights on.
Yeah.
And about a year in, I'm going, this is so hard. Like, I don't think I've taken a breath for a year. And I didn't realize how underwater I was, right? And how just absolutely fried I was in those moments. And it wasn't until I actually interviewed a guest on my show on She Believes She Could, and she recommended this amazing woman to me. And it was in the world of positive psychology. And I started to do this self-reflection and evaluation and really understanding what was going on, where I recognized and had my look in the mirror moment of saying, like, this isn't okay. Like, all these things I'm feeling are not normal,
Right.
and I can't continue this way. And I started really working on myself. And I went through this program and I actually got certified in positive psychology with this woman who was just life changing for me. But it was those daily commitments, right? It was that recognizing that things weren't right. It was taking that next step, doing the evaluation, and then what, right? Taking the action and following through.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, because of the program that I was going through, we did an evaluation in the beginning, a very comprehensive one, and we did one 12 weeks later. And I was like a new human because I made those commitments for 12 consistent weeks every single day, starting to implement things into my life that then became habits and daily practices that I'm still doing to this day. And I don't skip. And I credit helping to get through that season of life, helping to come to the other side. And had I not done that work, I would not have written that book. I would not have gotten that team through what I got it through. I would not have left eventually that position to go try something else and bet on myself. Like, so much happened as a direct result of that. But I did not know that that would be the outcome. But I made the promise to myself every day to show up for me.
Wow, I was seriously thinking about what you just said because I was listening for what you were going to speak about with the playing small. And you pointed about confidence. But what you said was that there's a level of trust that you have to have in self. And I think that's what confidence really is. It's not just saying, I want to dream big, but it's being able to commit to the agreements that you have on the inside of yourself. And like you said, do them daily so that the momentum can lead to the result that you want. So many of us, I think, as I also listened, we heard how you speak about playing big. You are already in a position that other people would have thought was playing big.
That's true.
But
Very
it led
true.
to your burnout. And that, I think, is a major concern, especially for our audiences, because we hear those catchphrases and it feels good to talk about the grand theme, but when we think we're playing big already and we're burning out or we're tired or we're exhausted from what we thought is the dream, are we actually playing big, or is that a version of playing small?
It is. Well, and I think that we can lose ourselves in other people's definition of success so easily. And, to continue your point, right? Like, I've had those moments where I've been at the top of my game. I've had those incredible career opportunities that I worked decades to get to. But what I didn't pay attention to as much in those moments was, am I living aligned with my values? Because if you aren't, it doesn't matter how big you're playing because it's hollow. It's empty, right? It doesn't feel good when you get there because you're out of alignment. And so there's unbelievable opportunities. I've had mentors in my life that have said there's a million ways to make your dreams come true, right? And you don't have to get so stuck in one way. But sometimes the only reason you're stuck in one way is because you haven't exposed yourself to everything else that's out there. And that's why it's so important to get in rooms with people that have done the things that you want to do so that you can be inspired and you can learn from them and you can see yourself in them and have your eyes opened for the possibilities for the future. And that's where you almost have to just say, okay, you take that step back. You say, can I give myself permission to try and do something different this time? And is it going to be scary? Yes. Am I capable? Yes. Have I trusted myself in the past and shown up for myself and have the confidence? Yes. And it's going to be okay.
That's right.
So,
audience say yes.
Yeah, I know. That's right. Put a yes in the comments. Oh my gosh.
Listen,
incredible.
That was incredible. Thank you for sharing that and being honest. Transparency and vulnerability. That's like the key to success when it comes to winning in life and doing the work. Doing the work.
Do the work.
It was interesting because I met Allison at a conference, the Orlando Women's Conference, and I didn't know she was coming to be the keynote speaker at all, right? My first time ever there. Seeing her speak, I believed I could.
Wow.
Let's just say that.
Thank you.
Let's just say that. I literally she got off the stage. Everybody's going into different breakout rooms and panels. And I remembered what she said. I remembered her image and what she conveyed and the message that actually hit the heart, hit the women that were like crying or saying like, wow, yeah, that's so true. And I remember standing on that stage as they were cleaning up. And I said, one day I believe I could and I will. I can and then I will.
Aw.
And I just envisioned that woman that's sitting there with
Sure.
the confidence to be on a stage and to speak to women and inspire them.
Yeah.
So it is important when you surround yourself with
Yeah,
individuals that
sure.
not only have similarities,
Yeah.
but are different.
Right. And that can help you see a version of yourself that you can't see
Come
yet.
on.
Right. Like,
Absolutely.
and we talk about this all the time of just like those look in the mirror moments, but sometimes you
Yes.
don't see exactly what it is that everybody else sees in you.
Sure.
Right. And so
True.
being open to receiving, I think
Mhm.
sometimes, again, going back to playing small, we'll dim our own lights.
Mhm.
Right. Sometimes it's really hard to receive compliments and praise and people pouring into us, but we have to be open to that
Yes.
because they're
Yes.
going to help pull out from within you what
Right.
God has given you,
Come on.
Yes.
the gifts that you have, the
Come on.
talents that you have, but you have to allow it to happen.
Come on.
And
Yeah.
so I think that, you know, if you do nothing else, if you walk away with nothing else from this conversation today, allow yourself to borrow the confidence that other people have in you
Ooh.
that you can't yet see. And allow yourself to stand in that light and grow into that. And understand it's not going to happen today. It's not going to
Yeah,
happen
sure.
tomorrow.
It's a
Right.
process.
But
Right.
every day you're getting closer to that vision.
Mm.
And every day you're making that come to fruition. And you owe it to yourself to play big.
Yeah.
But it takes time and it
I
takes
love that.
kindness and compassion and really understanding that you were born to do great things on this earth and with
Mhm.
your life. And it's a disservice if you don't.
I agree with that 100%.
Wow, you know, confidence can be borrowed.
Well, I
I
think
love
that's a
that
beautiful
notion.
point. We actually talk about that, how many of us are partnering with what other people are saying.
Mhm.
But I was trying to figure out what you were saying in a new way because I'm also trying to learn as you speak, right? I
Mhm.
really do try to listen when people are talking.
Yeah.
And I picked up something kind of interesting is you spoke about co-signing.
Mhm.
But I think that's what we have to evaluate.
Mm.
We have the opportunity to co-sign on people's debt, which is their lack of confidence or their inability or inefficiencies with the things that they want to do or want to do.
Right.
Or you can co-sign with people's dream,
Mhm.
the dream they see not just for you, but in you.
That's right.
There's a difference.
Yep.
If I say I want this for you,
Mhm.
then it's my dream.
Yeah.
But if I see in you there's something that you should have,
Yeah.
that's a dream that's in you.
That's right.
And that's what she's saying.
Yeah.
It should be extracted. So we have to be open to allow people to do that. I think that's incredible. Great points.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great inserts there. Yeah.
When you believe that you could,
Mhm.
did it ever come with resistance? Did it ever
No.
come with
She
insecurity and
said, yeah.
confidence?
She
Yeah.
said immediately. She's like,
Talk about it. Come
More
on.
insecurities, more doubts, more second guessing than I can
Okay.
even share. You know, I think,
Okay.
but again, because I've done the hard things, right?
Mhm.
I think that my journey, right, when I really think about where it all started, I struggled severely when I was in high school with eating disorders.
Okay.
Terrible. Anorexia, bulimia, had a ton
Okay.
of issues with anxiety, depression,
Yeah.
all of the things.
Okay.
I think when you live through something like that, you go through hell and back when you're that young.
Right.
You have proven something to yourself already because I could have easily been gone during those
Yeah.
days. And so I didn't believe necessarily in those really hard days that I could,
Right.
but I knew I could get to the next day.
Mm.
And I knew if I woke up the next day, God had a plan for me that day,
That's right.
right? I was meant to still be
If
here.
I could
Right.
just get to the next day.
Yeah. And, you know, and I had people pour into me, you know, and I think about like the people that I had around me in my life. And I talked about, you mentioned the Orlando Women's Conference, but I talked
Mhm.
about this woman when I was on stage. But I had a mentor in my life when I was younger. Her name was Lisa Maley. She's
Mhm.
still a sweet friend, but she was the woman that said to me, Allison, you were blessed with a voice to tell your story.
Yeah.
Like you've gone through a
Mhm.
lot.
Yeah.
You can help a lot of people that
Yeah.
feel alone, that
That's
feel
right.
like they're battling this on their own. And had she not had that conversation with
Mm.
me, my life would be very different. From that moment, I went and I felt so inspired that she saw that in me and saw my ability to make a change in this world. And for me, it was giving me some purpose through the pain. Like it was giving me something to hold on to. It was also grounding me in my recovery. And
Wow.
you know, I then started a nonprofit that ran for 18 years before it folded into the national organization now that is the Alliance. Like it's
18
Congratulations,
18
though.
years.
Sincerely,
Yeah,
congratulations.
thank you. And I
Wow.
served on all these amazing boards.
Right.
I ended up working in healthcare and helping to start treatment centers. And, you
Mm.
know, in the centers that I've worked in, I mean, it was dirt and a dream. It was
Mm.
literally, I was
Yeah.
employee number 2,
Yeah.
like
Wow.
when I was
Right.
hired, and we
Right.
scaled to 1,000 team members.
Incredible.
Wow.
Insane growth, right? Like all these things, and tens of thousands of people got access to care.
Mm.
And I'm not saying it was all me, but
No,
I was a
that's not
part
the
of
point.
it.
Come
And
on.
my
That's right.
That's right.
passion
That's right.
every day what was driving me to do those
Mhm.
things. And then again, you just continue to surround yourself with people
That's right.
that can help you get to that next level. And there are different times and different seasons in your life where you need different people. You know, and you know this, and
Yes.
coaching and
Yes.
developing people and
Mhm.
motivating and
Yes.
inspiring them.
Yeah.
You know, it is so critically important for you to look at your life and say, where are there gaps right now?
Yes.
Mm.
Who do I need?
Where there are
Right?
gaps.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
like
and
that.
that's really important to evaluate. And
Right.
I did this. I had the fortune last week to go and be in a room of people that have done the things that I want to do. And I
Okay.
looked around that room and I'm like, I need to find some gap fillers now. I need to
Yes.
find
Wow,
the
that's powerful.
people that are going to help me elevate, because it
Wow.
would be very easy
Sure.
for any of us,
Yes.
anybody listening, watching, to say, I'm good,
Right.
right?
Sure.
I've had success.
Right.
I've done the things.
Mhm.
But are you happy?
Yeah.
Mm.
Come
Do
on.
you feel like you've really
Mm.
maximized your
Yes.
potential and
Mm.
optimized your life? And if there are opportunities for you to take it to that next level, then
Yes.
find the people. And this can be in business, this can be in
Yes.
your family. We're doing it right now as a family and with our faith. You know,
Mm.
we're
There you go.
really seeking out more community and
Beautiful.
being more present and getting more involved, because I know I still have a lot to learn. And I
Yes.
want to learn from people that are in it,
Yes,
right? To
ma'am.
help me elevate,
That's
right?
right. That's
So
right.
it's really finding those people. But to your question, I didn't believe I could,
Mm.
but I would walk alongside people that did believe I could.
Love it.
And that
Love
helped
it.
me
Wow.
every single day. And then I, in turn, did that for thousands of other
Come on.
people.
That's it.
And that's really where I find my purpose in life, is helping people
Mhm.
see themselves the way that they should be seen, to see that
Yes.
potential, right? And
Wow.
I think that that's where I always call them my superpowers, right? Like
Yes.
I can
Yes.
see the potential in people and I can help them get there when it's in the lanes that I really
Sure.
operate and play in. So
Absolutely.
that's really where I find so much joy and so much fulfillment.
Oh, and you can
Yeah.
feel it in the
You can
room.
feel it,
Audience,
man.
you may
That's
be
I always
listening or
love
not
that.
seeing it, but you can feel it. And even to piggyback what she said, who is your gap
Yeah,
filler?
definitely.
That notion right there
Sure.
changes everything,
Yeah.
because not only does it say I'm not prideful, like
Yeah.
I'm not arrogant, I'm
Yeah.
willing to seek help. I'm
Yeah.
willing to seek somebody
Sure.
that can actually fill that crack in my life appropriately and
Yeah.
properly. And I love that you did the work.
Mhm.
I mean, that is one of the biggest things. Some people are so lazy, they'll identify they have a problem.
Right.
Yeah.
They'll identify there's a situation in their life where something's lacking or leaking,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and they won't even budge because they're like, it's okay, it's a hard world, or, we're all going
Mhm.
through it.
Right.
But those that are successful, those that amass great
Right.
achievements, they find a way to be plugged into those rooms, and they
Sure.
find a way to excel and say, I may not have it all, but you
Right.
do.
Yeah.
That's right.
And I'm willing. I'm willing.
Exactly.
It's a willing attitude.
It is, and I think there's I'm not sure if you're familiar with Ed Milet, but he's like
Yes.
legendary
Yes. Yes.
speaker.
Yes.
That's who I was with last week,
That's
was him and
awesome.
John Gordon and this whole crew. And and I had heard him say it on podcasts and different things before, but he talks about this notion of like, he doesn't want to get to heaven and meet the version of himself that he
That he
could have
could have
Absolutely
been.
been.
not. That's right.
And
Come
I
on.
think that we are all meant to be works in progress,
I
right?
really
Like,
believe
because
that.
you learn by
Mhm.
being a work in progress.
Sure.
Like, when nobody's perfect.
Absolutely
And
not.
when you have that mindset of like, I'm going to grow today, like I'm going to get better today. And I think that's why like the 1% better mentality is,
Sure.
it
That's
clicks
right.
for people,
Yes.
right? Because it's a small commitment to a bigger picture.
Yes.
But I think if you continue to lean into that, and you can ask yourself just such simple questions every day, simply, how am I going to grow today?
Mm.
What am I going to do? What's that one thing that I'm going to do today that's going to make me better in one area of your life? Don't overcommit yourself, because if you
Ooh, you said
overcommit,
it. I'm so glad you said it. I was hoping you were going to go there.
yeah, if you overcommit and you put 99 things on your list, you're not going to get
Yes.
any of them done, right? You
Yes.
dilute your focus, you dilute your results. It's very
Yes.
simple.
Very
Yes.
simple.
So it's about that incremental commitment, and wherever you're headed, get to the finish line. And I
Right.
think that's the other thing too, is that a lot of people
Mhm.
will quit before they've
Mhm.
really given
Yeah.
themselves a chance
Coach
to
talks
run
about that
fully.
often.
All the
Yes,
time. All the
right?
time.
Like
Yes.
it's going to be hard.
Mhm.
It's
Choose your
not-
heart.
Like, choose your
Yeah,
heart. You
absolutely.
want to live with regret, or you want to like learn and
Either
get to
or.
where you want to
Thank
go.
you.
Like,
Yes.
it's very, very simple. But it's also difficult. But that's
Yes.
why, that's that separator,
Yeah.
right? Like that is that differentiator
Yes.
for between
Mhm.
those that are going to go after it and have a very fulfilled and very full and beautiful life, versus those that are going to sit sit there and be like, I don't know why it didn't happen for me.
Yes.
Like, oh my God, I
Yeah.
can't.
No,
I
it's
can't.
true. It's so true.
So
And the thing that gets me too is a lot of people will see, for instance, like yourself, highly successful,
Mhm.
travel the world, books and coaching and the university that she had.
yes.
And they'll see that whole package. But we oftentimes say people don't see the process.
Yeah.
And I say that because you literally said it may be one thing today that I'm willing to
Mhm.
do
That's
that will
right.
help me grow.
Right.
That's enough.
Mm-hmm.
So many people think it has to be this huge project.
Yeah.
No, it's a
Mhm.
huge process.
That's
Yes.
right. That's right.
And there's timing involved.
Yes.
Just because it's not happening for you now doesn't mean that it's not happening because you're putting the work in toward it.
Right.
But you also have to be at peace with yourself during that process. I think that's honestly why people, I'll say it this way, either don't know that they're actually playing big
Mm.
because they feel small.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They feel like what they have is too small. There's a scripture I love. It says, despise not humble beginnings.
Mm-hmm.
The things that you're heading toward, it's a literal basket full of small things.
Yeah.
True.
It is.
And then there's some people that see something like you got and they think, I'll never get that big.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, I wasn't aiming for it either. I just did the
Yeah.
little things.
Come on.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't go to school to do the things that I did.
Come on.
Like, I mean, like I literally was scrappy and resourceful and would do the work.
Do the
Like,
work.
that's it. That is as simple as it is. Do the work.
That's right.
Stay open-minded,
Yeah.
stay humble, and
Mhm.
always look for the opportunity to grow.
Mm.
When you do those things, you open yourself up to so many opportunities to like just this abundant world, but you
Yes.
have to have that recipe for success or it's not going to happen. I think about all of the times that I was in situations where I didn't have a playbook. I didn't have a roadmap. I had to
Yeah.
figure it out.
Mm.
Right. And I was, of course, terrified at certain
Yeah,
times,
sure.
right?
Yes, of
And
course.
very worried about like, that's when you're like imposter syndrome, where you're
Yes,
just like,
that's
who
right.
am I
Who
to
am
be
I?
doing this?
Right.
Like, oh, I fooled them. Like, oh God, help me.
Yeah.
But those are also the moments
that help
where,
me?
those are the moments where those are defining moments,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And when you get to the other side, that's where the story is.
That's
right.
where
Come
the
on.
story
Like,
is.
have the story to tell.
Yes.
Don't be like, oh, I quit. Like that story stinks.
Yes.
Like get to the
Yes.
other side.
And
Like,
don't
just
have
keep
the
going.
story that I'm here at the finish line. No,
Right.
tell the story of what it took to get to it. That's
Yes.
literally where the impact and the momentum is.
Exactly. And that's where the grit is developed. That's
Oh,
where you learn resilience.
Absolutely.
That's where you become more confident because you're
Yes.
willing to do it and you're willing to trust yourself to make that next bold move. Even if it's hard, even if it's scary,
That's right.
even if you don't know what the heck you're doing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I've had more moments in my life where I didn't know what I was doing.
Building the plane while you're flying.
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
Yeah. That's,
Literally. I
That's
mean,
the
we
As long as
talked-
you have two wings.
Yeah, we talked about that at my last organization. We called it the rocket ship because
Yeah.
it was so hyper growth and there was
Wow.
so much happening at so many every day. It was just like everything was coming at us, but we had a huge responsibility because the mission was so strong.
That's
Yeah.
And
true.
everybody could see themselves in the mission and they were willing to do the work and they understood
Mm.
how much their contribution played a factor and a role in the success of the organization and ultimately in the success of the people that we were helping. And so like
Wow.
allow that to fuel you. And if you can't find that fuel,
Right.
it might mean you need to be on a different path. And I
All
think
right.
those
Very
are
good, very
also
good.
things to really think about.
Very
Now,
good.
don't dodge every path because it gets
No,
hard.
sure.
Right,
Talk
right.
about it.
But really think about like, is this lighting me up? Because back to what we talked about a little bit before, sometimes we reach different levels of success and we're like, this isn't what I thought it was going to be
Mm.
like, right?
Right.
So check in with yourself, right? Like
Mm.
I always say, do a checkup from the neck up. Make
Yeah.
sure
Yeah,
you're
that's
okay.
right,
Like,
that's
is
right.
this what I want to be doing, right? Or is this
right.
somebody else's dream? If it's
Mm.
not your dream, there's a
Somebody's
lot of time and
dream.
energy that you need to be spending on yourself and
Yes.
figuring that out and teasing that out and
Oof.
getting in the rooms with the people that inspire you and seeing if there's other things that you can do.
Mm.
I sat there last week around 100 people that I did not know, and
Mhm.
I just soaked it all in. And sure
Mm.
enough, like these little golden nuggets
That's
were
right.
being
Just
dropped in
dropped.
my head.
Yeah.
Things I never would have thought about that now
Right.
I'm exploring. It's a week later and I'm putting it into action
Come
and I
on.
can't wait to see what happens.
Mhm.
But if I hadn't put myself in that room,
Oh,
You wouldn't have
right?
gotten 'em.
I wouldn't have gotten there. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sitting behind, or no, Super Bowl champions are sitting behind me.
Yep.
Legends are sitting on
Yep.
the stage. Like all these people. Trust me, I
Yeah.
felt
Of
really
course,
Yeah,
of
yeah,
course.
sure.
There were moments where I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
Why am I
why'd
here?
they let me in? Like, I don't even
Because you
know.
belong.
But yes,
That's
but
it.
but it's that, right? I had to have
Yes.
those moments where it's like
Absolutely.
I belong to be
Yes.
here. Like
Yes.
Yes.
I deserve to be here. And one
Yes.
day I'm going to be on that stage pouring into them
That's
like
right.
they
Come
are.
on.
And so that's what I just kept saying to myself is I am
Yes.
supposed to be here.
Mm,
Allow myself to receive, allow myself to be poured into,
Yeah.
allow myself to learn,
That's
right?
good self-talk.
I have to raise my hand for this one because it
Okay.
just dropped in
It ju-
me.
yeah. Mhm.
You don't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
No.
You just need to be present.
That's
Yes.
right. Present.
Present is my word of the year.
Present.
You don't
I
have to
love
be
that word.
perfect. You just need to be present.
Yes. This is a noisy world that we live in. It's real noisy. It's
It's-
noisy out
it's
there
noisy,
and it's
man.
noisy in here.
Of
Yes.
course.
Right?
Of course.
Our
of
inner
course.
dialogue is noisy.
That's right.
Noisy.
And so you got to get quiet with yourself.
Come on.
You know, you have to be able to witness what's happening around you.
Yes.
Yeah.
You have to be able to soak in who's pouring into you. You have to be able to be present enough to filter what you don't need,
Mhm.
right? Because there's a lot that doesn't need to come inside.
That's right.
You know, and if you're not present, you're going to just, again, co-sign on a lot of
Yes.
things that you have no business internalizing.
Wow. Also, too,
For it.
there are people that would have left that room for fear of, I don't belong here.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm not worthy. I haven't achieved this type of success. So how could I be sitting with these people that are a Super Bowl champion, that
Mhm.
are the
Mhm.
mega international speaker,
Yeah.
but you stayed
Yeah.
and you were present.
Mhm.
And so some people need to hear that. I think our audience needs to also be encouraged with, be present even when it's uncomfortable.
That's right.
Mhm.
Even when it's uncomfortable,
Yeah.
because your gold was there.
Yeah.
And those gold nuggets that you have now can produce so much more.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
even a gold mine. Like,
Right.
we don't know
Yeah,
what.
You don't know what it's
You
gonna
don't know
produce.
what.
Yeah.
But there are so many times, even myself personally, I have been invited. And I'm like, I am not going to that. Or you almost get in your own way.
Yeah.
Of course.
And you block yourself mentally,
Right.
and you block yourself physically.
Yeah.
I'm too tired. I need to take care of this. But then sometimes I look at it, if I don't go,
Yeah.
whose life am I not going to touch?
Exactly.
That's it. That's the reframing. If I
Yep.
don't go, what is this going to look like for my future?
Mhm.
From not even my present, for my future.
Mhm.
So the growth in that is I love it, because it was a simple testimony, what she said.
Sure.
I just went, but I
Mhm.
was present in it.
Mhm.
And so present also can look like, okay, maybe I'll silence my phone when people are speaking.
That's right.
Maybe I will take a breather. We had Dr. Lauren Hodges
Yeah.
on our show recently, and she was just talking about, before she even gets into a room, into a public speaking space or anything like that, taking a moment to just be present 5 minutes
With
and
herself.
with herself.
Mhm.
I'm so grateful. I'm so excited for this opportunity, and just being at peace. Nothing disturbs that 5 minutes before she walks in the door. And so small things like that can be a daily practice
Mhm.
that can open up doors for you, even audience, I think about these things and I apply it myself.
Yeah.
Because it's difficult. We do live in a really tough
Sure.
world, even tougher, more than ever.
Yes.
Okay, we have the elections. Okay, this, that. Kids, life, everything is happening.
Mhm.
But the moment that I choose to be present within,
Mhm.
I feel like I'm always winning.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And
Mhm.
you can get those divine downloads
That's right.
when you're present
get hit.
too, right?
Every
And
time.
it allows you to just
Be.
be,
Right.
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
I
hear,
love how
Yes.
you said it.
you know,
Getting
it's
And that's why
just,
God pulled so many people away from their environments,
Yes.
away from familiarity, to
Yes.
be silent and still.
Yeah.
The peace comes in the stillness.
It
And I love
does.
that.
It does, but it's really hard when there's like 9 million things going on
I mean,
around you,
900
know?
million, a million.
But
That's the problem.
that is,
Yes.
but find the time, right? For me,
That's it.
my mornings are sacred. That's when I have my quiet time,
go.
right? That's,
See?
I get up intentionally early.
Yes.
I have my process because I need that,
Mhm.
right? Otherwise, I'm on everybody else's agenda.
You have to center yourself so you can stay yourself.
right.
Exactly.
That's right. That's right.
Exactly. And you deserve it.
Yes.
I mean, we're talking
yes.
5 minutes here,
Sure.
right? We're
Just
10
5.
minutes.
Come
Like
on.
whatever it is that you need, but find something that helps you
Yeah.
get in touch with you and
Yeah.
check in with yourself, right?
Mhm.
And if you have to put calendar reminders on your calendar,
Sure.
do
Do
it,
Mhm.
right? Until it becomes a habit. Or if you need an extended period of time, put it on your schedule and commit
Yeah.
to not canceling on yourself, right? Like,
Commit to not canceling on
yes.
yourself.
Yeah.
we have
like
to
that.
do that
I like
because
that.
especially as women,
No, it's
Yeah.
okay. Listen, we have some great female leaders
Yeah.
and people watching and listening
Yes.
to this.
but I think women will cancel on themselves faster than
Every
men.
time.
I really do. You
To
know,
commit to others.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know, I even noticed this with my husband. Like, he doesn't cancel on his golf game, like, ever. And
Yeah.
that's his peaceful time,
No,
right?
that's what I was going to say. That's because that's his escape.
That's-
That's
yes.
typically why men don't cancel on
Yes,
ourselves, because we're
exactly,
escaping a lot of things,
exactly.
right?
So, but I have to really be conscious of it, you
Sure.
know, where there'll be things on my schedule on the weekend, and it would be
Mhm.
really easy for me to just be like, nope, I got to go run 9 million errands. Like,
Yes.
no, like,
Yeah.
take the time.
Yes.
The time's going to pass anyways, but
Yes.
wow, you can really maximize it it if you give yourself the space to work on you and to really just check in. Like, is this where I want to be right now? Is this even what I thought I wanted? Right? What can I do to carve a different path? What are the things I can do for myself to continue to evolve and be the person I'm intended to be? So, but that doesn't happen on accident.
No,
Of course not.
Intentionality. Another
Absolutely.
great word. Momentum, intentionality, and then being present.
Technical difficulties.
All those three, it's all right. But all those three I love. And even in the moment where you're sitting here, you're present.
Yeah.
You're enabling yourself to feel and go back to these life experiences that you've had and recount them, but then inspire other people. There's so many people that are afraid to tell their stories for fear of judgment, for fear of, it's not good enough. The way that people are living life now, I mean, like, we all could be watching docuseries forever if people would have that boldness and courage to just say it, to just do it, you know? And I love how, I wanted to ask you, even with this university, I love how you didn't hide yourself even through it. I love how you took a book, you took your podcast, you made university, you did all these things, and you could have just said, you know, I'm good with that, but I want more because people, watch this, because people out there deserve more. They deserve more. And you've been through that. You've had the credibility, the testimony, and now you're saying, I want to even be more enriched in knowledge and wisdom. I'm willing to attend this conference and this, regardless if I feel like I'm the smallest in the room, because somebody in life is going to need this side of me, this betterment of me. I love that.
Yeah, no, and thank you for that. And it was so interesting, right? So I was all, my soul was set on fire last week as I was at that event, but I came back and I had a coaching session with one of my clients, like literally the next day. And sure enough, I was able to draw on some of the things I learned in the room, right? Like, that's why you have to keep growing.
That's right. That's right.
Because to your point, somebody else needed that, right?
That's
It's the ripple effect
that
makes such a big difference. And it's so incredible. And even some of the things that, were shared in that room, I came home and I started doing with my family, things ways in which some of these individuals communicate with their children. And I brought that back and I started doing that immediately with my kids. And they took to it. I'm like, these are precious moments, so it's like, you don't know how you're going to impact somebody else's life when you do those things. It's not about you, right?
That's exactly
and I think
what
that's
I'm
the
hearing.
thing, right?
Absolutely.
It is not about you.
Yes.
It's not. And that's why I think stories are so important and testimonies are so important, because people are looking for connection, right? In a world that is so artificial now, we have to stay authentic and we have to be able to connect and we have to be able to share stories, because otherwise you've become isolated and you do feel alone, right? But we're naturally always looking for, what is this connection? How can I relate? How can I find myself and get lost in the stories of others, or find that hope, or that just glimmer that there's an opportunity that I didn't even know existed because I'm connecting to somebody's story, right? And that's why we have to share. And, I think for me, when I realized the difference I could make at such an early age, I knew that I would continue to make a difference for the rest of my life. And that's why I love everything with She Believes She Could University, is because we're really pouring into a demographic and a generation that, wow, if I can set their souls on fire at that age, right?
They'll have it
they
early.
will have it.
Yes.
And, and I've worked with hundreds of young women one-on-one over the course of my years, that I have seen that when you invest in yourself at that age, the separator effect that you can have between you and everybody else. And it's not about being better than everybody else, but it is about creating more opportunities for yourself right out of the gate. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges that I see with 18 to 24-year-olds, especially, is that they feel lost, or they feel like they don't have opportunities that, people before them had.
It's a different world.
It is a different world. And I'm not going to downplay that at all, right? It's hard out there.
It is.
But you can work on you for you.
Yes,
and guess what? Nobody can take that away from you. No one.
Ever.
And so that's where I really find a lot of joy in that, and building out all of those resources and spending a lot of time on college campuses and with sororities and different organizations. I've really loved that. And it's so fun to be able to take what has worked for so many others and package it in a way that's digestible, that is empowering, that builds their confidence and helps them really see them for them. Because when you can create a level of self-awareness in somebody at an early age and help them find their path faster, wow,
Changes the
like
game.
what a
That's right.
gift.
What
Yes.
a gift, man.
Let me ask you
Woo.
this. When you mentioned your own personal ways that you've overcome the obstacles
Mhm.
as a youth in your
Yeah.
adolescenthood, was it within the 18 to 24 where it was the most opposition you faced? I'm asking this on purpose.
Yeah. Well, I think I was super lost,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So I had gone through a horrible struggle. I knew I had a voice to tell my story. I
Yes,
just
ma'am.
didn't know what the best vehicle was to
Okay.
do that.
That's fair.
Right. And so
Mhm.
again, I was kind of chasing everybody else's definition of
Yes.
success. I had the beautiful opportunity to become Miss Florida and I competed at Miss America, which was like unbelievable. But after that year, I was like, okay, who am I without this?
Identity.
Yes,
Identity.
big time.
Wow.
And also like just questioning my worth without that as the
Yes.
title attached to me. And I ended up going to law school. I thought I wanted to really fight insurance companies
Wow.
that weren't, authorizing care for individuals that were struggling and that needed help
course.
and all that. And I thought that, but I was again attaching my success to a title. And I got into law school and I was like, this is
ain't it.
terrible.
Yeah.
But I was so stubborn
Yeah.
and I didn't want to quit because I didn't want to
Wow.
let everybody else down.
Let everybody else
You
down.
know,
Wow.
like it was all of
Mm.
that, right?
Right.
So I didn't necessarily know what was going to be my biggest way to impact, but it was during those years that I had to have my come to Jesus moment with me. I
Yeah,
had to
sure.
share with my family that I wasn't going to practice law. I was going to finish, but not
Yeah, I
practice.
was gonna say you're still a
Right.
Juris
Yeah,
Doctor. Yeah,
still
yeah,
got
yeah,
that.
yeah.
But that was where I opened myself up to exploring. And I just kept thinking, like, God, use me the way that I need to be used,
Yeah.
right? Like, allow me to find something that will allow me to take my story and the lived experiences that I've had, all of the help that I've been able to provide through our foundation and everything, but channel it in a way in which will be an opportunity to really make a difference in this world. And there was a woman that reached out to me. It was my last year of law school. She said, Allison, I don't know if anybody on your board of directors is looking for an opportunity, but we're getting ready to open a treatment center and we're
Wow.
looking for somebody on the business development side. Now, I only knew her because I spoke 6 years prior
Wow.
to a group.
Timing.
Mm-hmm.
So again, the network, nurture your network,
Exactly.
nurture your network. She was, she took a bet on me. And then a year
Wow.
later, the first startup reached out to me and I got to build that from the ground up. Like, I mean, I never in a million years as an 18-year-old would have thought that I would have had the opportunities that I did, but I kept saying yes. And I also knew when to say no.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
know, I could have just continued down that
Yeah.
You could
the
have.
law path.
That's right. That's right.
Probably been very successful,
Mhm.
but like that wasn't my passion,
Yeah.
right? And checking in with myself and saying this just doesn't feel right.
You can
You know, you can tell.
Self-awareness.
And
That's right.
and it's hard though,
It
right?
is,
Those
it is.
moments are hard because then sometimes like shame comes along
And
with
you know what?
that.
It requires humility.
It does.
Yes.
I made a mistake.
Yes.
You know, I
Hard
made
to
a
admit
mistake.
that. Take
I
the
made an
ownership.
expensive mistake.
Yeah,
I guess
right,
it was
right,
like
you know.
law school loans, right? Like, but I learned a lot about myself through the
Yes.
process, and I also learned what I didn't want. And I
Got
think
it.
sometimes those are the most valuable lessons.
May I ask you about that piece?
Yeah.
I think that's important. You said you made an expensive mistake. I really believe that some of our audience really deals with that,
Yeah.
where they, as I said at the beginning, are playing big by someone else's definition, but they're looking at themselves saying, is it too late for me?
Mhm.
What do you think?
It's not too late. It's never too late. I think if you know inside that there's something bigger for you or something different, you owe it to yourself to try. I invest in myself every single day.
That's right.
I surround myself with support. Some of it is free and a lot of it is paid.
Yeah, by
You
all
know,
means.
and but that's how I grow.
Yes.
And I look at everything, and if I can say without a shadow of a doubt that I'm going to get 5 to 10x my investment back
Yes.
because of that, then I'm going to do it,
Sure.
right? But
That's
I
a win.
understand that it's scary up front.
Yeah.
But it's worth it. You're worth it, right?
Yes.
Like you are your greatest investment. And if you're learning through the process, some mistakes might be more expensive than others, but they also might be the best investment you've ever
I'm
made.
so glad to hear you say
You
it.
know,
Very
and
true.
so like I think back to, I shared about doing all the work in positive psychology. That was a very like pivotal time in my life. That was a big check I had to write. It was probably the biggest check that I had ever written to go through that certification process.
Wow.
But what it did for my life changed my entire life
Wow.
in so many ways, countless ways, and monetarily, happiness, fulfillment,
Sure.
health, well-being, everything. you know, and I mean, even down to the book, right? The whole book is based on the principles
Based
of
on the
positive
principles.
psychology, right?
Yes.
In business and like how you leverage it in life and like
Yeah.
all of that. So I'm grateful for it. But I can remember I have this sweet friend in my life. He calls himself my chief unicorn. So he's appointed
Aw.
himself chief unicorn.
Did I meet the chief
Yes,
unicorn?
you
He's
met him.
amazing.
He's
He's
wonderful,
so amazing.
right? So, but I remember calling him and I was sitting in the parking lot at my kid's dance studio going like, oh my gosh, like this is a lot. Like, I don't know if I should do this. And he's like, you are worth it. Like, what are you talking about? Like,
Sure.
your life is depending on making a change and learning and growing. And he's like, Allison, he's like, you value learning and growth and development more than anything else. So why
Sure.
wouldn't you do this for yourself right now? And I did it and I never looked back. And like everything changed, right? Same thing, like different pivotal moments, right? Where I've put myself in rooms where
Yeah.
I knew that the people that I wanted to be like were in those rooms,
That's right.
Sure.
right? Or I invest in masterminds where the women that are in that group are just like killing it. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I need to be surrounded by that because again, there's a lot of influence out there that we can't necessarily change just by
That's true.
ties or
Yes,
association,
yes,
right?
yes.
But you have 100% the responsibility to do what you need to do
Yeah.
Right.
for you.
Yeah.
And you got to figure it out. And you might have to be scrappy and you might have to be resourceful, but I promise you'll look back and say that was the best thing I ever did.
The nuggets today.
Hey man, I told
The
I
nuggets.
knew
The nuggets.
once you introduced me to
Gold
her and you told me
everywhere.
about it, I was like,
Inspiration
oh yeah.
everywhere.
Sure.
Growth everywhere.
Absolutely.
From daily commitment, investing in yourself, knowing that you're worth it, knowing if listen, also too, reevaluating your circles.
That's right.
Reevaluating
Gap
it. Is this
fillers.
here?
That's right.
Do I have gap fillers? Are they conducive to my growth?
Yeah.
It could be future growth too, which I
That's right.
love. Some people are so fixated on personal success right now,
Yeah.
right now,
Yeah,
right now.
right.
But they fail to realize how, even when you look at a tree, how long it takes for some
How
to produce the
long.
fruit and the abundance of the fruit
Right.
thereof.
And everybody wants the fruit when it's producing, but then they didn't want to go through the 13 years of the
the
process.
fertilization, the pruning
Well,
process.
and you got to take care of the root.
You have to take care of the
every
root.
single time. Your
Yeah.
root system, the
Yeah.
core of who you are,
Yep.
the core of this is so beautiful.
Absolutely.
So beautiful. And really quick, with back to the tree, we have an avocado tree.
Yeah.
It went through massive pruning. I was so afraid because sometimes pruning looks like it's just cutting things off, like it's
Yeah.
just never going to grow back, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I was waiting for the harvest last year. We had no harvest. This year it doubled.
Whole tree.
It doubled.
Yeah.
It won't stop falling, raining
Oh
avocados.
my gosh, I love that.
Raining avocados. But look at this, how this relates to life.
Yeah.
Sometimes I've done things and I've expected, okay, my growth should be here by
Yeah,
now.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Income should
Yeah.
be here by now.
Yes.
Life should be here by now. Nothing. I'm
Mhm.
still almost in a still waiting period.
Mhm.
So I'm like, okay, so when's it coming? When's
Yeah.
it coming? But as opposed to when is it coming and just being sad or depressed,
Yeah.
it's when is it coming? But even if it doesn't come, let me put myself in that room. Let me go to that conference. Let me do
Yeah.
this over here, because I still have to grow.
Yeah.
And then in the meantime, I have no idea what kind of fruit is going to be born. Maybe at the end of this year, next
Sure.
year, but I'm not looking for that.
Right.
I'm looking for how can I make that a personal investment in my life
Yes.
so that I'm happy,
Yes.
so that I'm content and filled with joy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the things that you can do to stay just grounded in gratitude and focused on the progress that you have made, I
Yeah.
think are super important, right? Like keeping a win list or win
Have to
journal.
constantly
Win
do it.
list.
Yeah, you
That's
know,
right. I do it
someplace
often.
consistent too, right? Like
Yes.
there was a point where I was, I'd put things on a post-it note and I put them up,
Mhm,
right? That was
mhm.
cool for a
Yeah,
minute.
sure.
But I found a lot of joy in keeping them all in one place
Yeah, that's right.
because I could go back.
And reference.
And
That's
that's
right.
when I could really see the growth, right? And
Yeah.
really allowing yourself to say, like, okay, maybe you didn't get the payout that you wanted that
Right.
day,
Correct.
but look at this.
Yeah.
Like, you crushed a keynote and you
Yes.
got 5 new people that you're talking to. Or,
Yes.
it's finding those other just moments and,
Right.
and things that are also, indicative of the work and the progress.
Yeah.
But it's
Very
so
true.
easy to get hung up on the quantitative aspects of
Yes.
it.
And I
Of
think that's the
course.
trap. I
Yeah.
think it's
That's
an
it.
intentional trap that's been set so we
Yes,
don't
I
actually
agree.
value
Yeah.
what we are and what we're worth in the moment, the
That's
present
right.
moment. But
Yeah.
I
In
don't
the
mind me
moment.
interrupting.
Yes.
No, but you're right. And again, it
Mhm.
goes back to like your definition of success.
Mhm.
What does that mean to you? And understanding that you are worthy and
Yes.
abundant. And there's so many wonderful things that are headed your way. You just don't even know yet. And when you can keep yourself in that place,
Yes.
you're not going to block your blessings. And like, that's where we have to stay and play. Otherwise, we won't experience everything that life has to offer.
Oof, and we are all about
I
experiencing
know that's
everything
right.
that
Everything
life
that life has to
okay?
offer. Let's
Aspire higher.
maximize it to the maximus. I don't know. Absolutely. Well,
This episode
That's
has
right.
been phenomenal.
Thank you.
You have provided value, you've
Yes.
provided insight, wisdom, knowledge, and truth, and vulnerability.
Yeah, of
I thank you
course.
for your time, sincerely. If you had to tell our
Yeah.
audience where they can find you,
Mhm.
maybe even reiterate maybe 3 of what you said, the 3 notes of what
Yeah.
you said, so that they can practice it now
Yeah.
and bear fruit at some
Later,
point,
that's right.
please.
Yeah, no,
Feel
thank
free
you
to
for
share.
that. I
Of
think
course.
number one, stop playing small with your potential.
Yeah.
You're meant to play full out, right?
Mhm.
Don't dim your own light
Yes, ma'am.
by any means. Really focus on the daily progress and growth and
Yes.
track that over time. And I promise, if you commit to yourself, even if it's 90 days, if you do 90 things for yourself, I promise you will be more confident and you will trust yourself more than ever before, and you'll have momentum that will be able to be built upon, right? And because
Love
remember, it's harder to slow down momentum than it
Yeah,
is
that's
anything
right.
else. So those are some things that I really want to encourage everybody to do. And again, like, play full out, right? Like, you were born to do amazing things in this world,
Yeah.
and it is a disservice to everyone else if you don't. So really thinking about the gifts that we've been given,
Yes.
and allowing ourselves to really maximize that potential. As far as where to find me, She Believes She Could podcast
Mhm.
is one of my favorite places to be. I'm also very active on Instagram at Allison Walsh, and all the good things are on AllisonWalshConsulting.com.
Wow. That's it.
Well,
Thank you.
Coach,
Just thank you.
I'm so grateful that you met this young lady. She's blessed my
too. I
life
was
as well.
present. That's
And
why I met her.
that's right. You sure
Mhm.
were. What a great connection for you. And I see why you look up to her in so many
Yes,
ways.
Absolutely.
So thank you again as well. I
Yes.
keep wanting to call you doctor.
Go
I mean,
ahead.
Juris Doctor, you earned it.
I think
mean,
in London they
she's
call
like,
attorneys
"Go ahead."
doctors.
I'm
so
just
I'm gonna
saying,
move
it's a
there.
Juris Doctorate for a reason. But sincerely, thank you for your time. I just wanted to make sure I share that as well.
Thank you
That's
so
right.
much. It's an honor to be here with
You
both
guys,
of
if you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, subscribe, do what you need to do, and please go get this woman's book. She Believes She Could.
That's right.
Sign up for her podcast. I mean, listen to it. And also, if you loved this episode and know that there's someone struggling right now that needs encouragement and insight and daily practical tips, this is the episode to share. Please do that and watch the growth.